Parshas Chukas. Before we start speaking on the Parsha, I'd like to say something about the current events. During the past 3 weeks, the Torah world has become impoverished. We have lost 3 very, very great Gedolei Yisrael. Rav Kappelman from Lucerne, Switzerland, and Hagoin Reb Michal Yehuda Lefkowitz from Bnei Brak, and from Telzer Yeshiva, Hagoin Reb Chaim Stein. So perhaps we might learn a little bit something from this. The first thing that maybe we could learn from this is that in our generation, so far from everything, we can have such tremendous, powerfully Gedolei Yisrael, even in our generation. And perhaps it's upon us that this maybe should be an incentive to try harder to become Gedolei Yisrael, because we can. We see it happened right now in our own generation. Getting to the Parsha, I think we could see here a tremendous incentive not to sin, not to commit sins. What can we do to stop ourselves from doing a sin, from committing a sin? We have a temptation to do something and we can't seem to stop. What thought can we plant into our minds to help us, deter us from committing this sin? It says in the Torah, in this Parsha Chukas, that Moshe Rabbeinu was told to speak to the rock, v'dibartem el hasela, speak to the rock, and water will come out. Moshe Rabbeinu did a little bit different. He hit the rock, he smote the rock, and the water came out. And it says in the Torah, incredibly, that Yan lo ha'amantem bi, since you didn't believe in me, since you didn't believe in me, L'hagdisheni, to sanctify my name the way I wanted it, Lochein lo yisaviu, you will not bring in the Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. And the question is, Gewalt geschrigen, who are we talking about here? Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron. Is it possible to say about them that they didn't have emunah b'Hashem, they didn't have faith and belief in Hashem? Yan lo ha'amantem bi, since you didn't believe in me. It's written for eternity. It's written for all generations. Such words against Moshe and Aaron, and such punishment, that the actual writing in the Torah for all eternity is a tremendous embarrassment, a tremendous punishment to Moshe and Aaron. And the second punishment is they will not enter Eretz Yisrael. L'chein lo yisaviu, they will not bring in Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. They will not themselves come into Eretz Yisrael. And the question is, what did they do here? What did they do wrong? All the Mefarshim are groping to find out exactly what sin they committed. They can't seem to grasp it. All the Mefarshim, nobody has clarity. That means that the sin of hitting the rock rather than speaking to the rock was so thin, like a thin strand, they could barely touch it, feel it. They can't understand such a incomprehensible sin. For that, they deserve such punishment that that the Rebbeinu Shalom says about them that they have no faith in me for eternity, to have that written in the Holy Torah? And isn't the punishment way disproportionate? Since it's a sin, there was a sin. There was a sin because they're being punished. But the sin was such a thin strand of a sin, the punishment seems way out of proportion. And the second punishment also seems way out of proportion, that for this reason they will not enter Eretz Yisrael, because they committed the sin. But we see from here that even a thin, incomprehensible sin bears such punishment. And this could be a deterrent to us. We can't say, well, I'm only committing a small sin. First of all, we don't know what small sin, but we don't know what a small sin is, what is a large sin. But even for a small, incomprehensible sin, the punishment is so way out of proportion, and this perhaps can be a deterrent to us before, and when we have a temptation to sin, perhaps this is the thing that should enter our minds. It's not worth it. Look at the consequences. Look at what Moshe and Aaron did, and nevertheless look at the tremendous, seemingly disproportionate punishment. So this can be a deterrent to help us stop doing sins. Hashem should help us. We should be zeicha to control ourselves, overcome any temptations we have, not to sin because the consequences are absolutely not worth it.